Samarth Samriddh Sampann Bharat by 2047. It's a budget which is Sabka budget. Joining us now on our coverage of Budget 2023 is Union Minister Smriti Irani ji, Women and Child Development Minister and also Minister of Minority Affairs. Smriti ji, namaste. This is Anand here. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry.
Smriti ji, we are live and I want to understand, does this budget meet your personal expectations?
Of course, and more. I think, as been enunciated by the Finance Minister, this is the Amrit Kal budget, a budget that not only gives you a promise to address the issues of the present, also correct mistakes of the past, but it's also a budget that helps you build the future of India. As far as I'm concerned, I'm elated that the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is seeing a jump of 66%. I am elated with the special savings instruments which has been pronounced by the Finance Minister for Women. I'm extremely grateful for the fiscal space given for the elderly in our country. I am extremely grateful that the budget is humane enough to consider the needs of reading and children and young adolescents, and the National Digital Library and the complementary infrastructure that is to be created for the same in all states. I'm equally excited about the Center of Excellence that has been pronounced for artificial intelligence so that the future workforce can be ready. I'm equally grateful that this budget, in terms of its enhanced support for not only the defense sector but the agricultural credit fund and the special impetus to animal husbandry and fisheries, means more opportunities for women. But one of the biggest opportunities for women is what has been pronounced for the self-help groups across our country. 81 lakh self-help groups, 9 crore female members of the same now will be organized in clusters so that their entrepreneurial prowess can be maximized, and that will have a grassroots impact not only from the perspective of economy but also from the perspective of health and education for families. It is a budget for a better tomorrow.
You've elucidated it beautifully, but there are those who are taking jibes at the government, saying that the budgets for women and child development, the budget for minority affairs have been slashed.
Jibes and pot shots are No, I'm sure the ones who are taking pot shots and jibes at it are the members of the opposition, and that makes me equally satisfied, because if the opposition was smiling this evening, Mr. Narasimhan, then I think I'd be in a bit of trouble.
But in this case, let me also ask you, why have the budgets been slashed? Would you look at it as slashing of budgets in your respective ministries, or would you look at it as repurposing and them indirectly benefiting?
Which ministry would you allude to?
The Minority Affairs Ministry, there is an allegation that the budgetary allocations of Minority Affairs has come down.
Is your premise that the government works for minorities only through the Minority Affairs Ministry? I think one of the greatest disservice we are doing to the minority community is to indicate to them that there is only one ministry dedicated to them and their needs. When the Prime Minister says that capital expenditure will go up and infrastructure spend is increased by 33%, and now 10 lakh crore rupees will be spent, roads will be built, airports will be built, does that not help every community, including the minority community? When the Prime Minister speaks of his vision of building new medical colleges, does that not include members of the minority community? When we talk about the new education policy and the gender inclusion funds, does that not include the minorities of the country? The fact that every facet of government today is servicing every community is what is the strength of India. So when the Finance Minister pronounced a whole network and framework for enhancing the capacity of Vishwakarma and especially our artisans, which community do you think they belong to?
That's across the board, but the other question to you is sickle cell anemia has been highlighted. There was the challenge of malnourishment, which was addressed.
I'm really grateful, Mr. Narasimhan. I'm very grateful, Mr. Narasimhan. In all my press interactions today, you're the only anchor who's brought up the issue of sickle cell anemia. The fact that it affects our tribal population, particularly 7 crore people in this country, and this is one of the most ambitious targets that the government has ever set in the history of our democracy, speaks volume that this budget is not only an economic instrument but also an instrument for change and an instrument that is grounded in humanity. So I'm grateful particularly that as an anchor, you placed attention to the sickle cell anemia pronouncement of the finance minister.
Because it stood out. It stood out because this does not come under common cognizance, and when the finance minister spoke about it, it stood out. But along with setting out a roadmap for Bharat in 2047, a Samarth Bharat, a Sampanna Bharat, a Samriddh Bharat, as the Prime Minister said, there is also seems to be an eye on Lok Sabha 2024. A lot of the constituencies that seem to be beneficiaries of this budget.
The Prime Minister has always said.
There is an element of populism.
The Prime Minister has always said. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you.
No, please go ahead.
No,
You're
I'm
most
sorry,
welcome
I'm cutting you through this particular pronouncement of yours. But the Prime Minister has always steadfastly maintained this will not be the first ever Lok Sabha elections that we'll go to with him as Prime Minister. This is our second. Which we will win, and I am grateful that you have highlighted this particular question with regards to the Prime Minister's leadership, because he's had budgets before which has been pronounced by his finance minister. He has never looked at any budget from the perspective of how to get more votes. I think that is why he has the overwhelming support of citizens of this country. Every citizen knew, and this was tested even during the pandemic, every citizen knew in our country that this is a Prime Minister that prioritizes India's needs and not his political needs.
My final question, Smriti Irani ji, what's going to be your thrust? What's the mandate for you as per this budget going forward?
Well, if you ask me as a citizen, I am the daughter of two senior citizens, hence I'm extremely grateful that pronouncements have been made for senior citizens today. I'm a mother of two girls, and I myself look forward to the savings instruments, particularly for women. In fact, I would appeal to all women that this is an opportunity to not only enhance our savings capacity, but also benefit from the time window that the finance minister has pronounced. That nutrition is a subject which is very close to the Prime Minister's heart, where 18 ministries come together under Poshan. Today has been supplemented with enterprise, where the finance minister speaks about Shri Anna, which means the millets, and the capacity for India to enhance our export potential in this segment. What is particularly interesting also is the details to which the budget went with regards to the agricultural credit fund and the impetus that is to be given not only to fisheries, not only to animal husbandry, but there's a complementary stance taken in setting up of Center of Excellence for Artificial Intelligence. So we are getting future ready, but we are also ensuring that we leverage our inherent talent. That the cooperative ministry was first brought into existence under Prime Minister Modi's leadership is something which is a silent revolution that is brewing in our country. The complementary support given by the finance minister today is worth cheering for.
The cooperatives that you spoke about, it's a huge step towards women empowerment, because a large number of cooperatives across our country are also championed by women, powered by women. So here's to that 51% which deserves.
But they are also champions of agriculture.
Yes, they are.
So the finance minister today has not only given a big ticket salute to infrastructure, but she has also fueled the capacity of Indian enterprise at the grassroots.
Smriti Irani ji, thank you very, very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Budget 2023, it set the tone. It set the tone for Bharat's Amrit Kal, and like the Prime Minister said, a Samriddh, Sampann, Samarth Bharat.
I propose to increase the rebate limit to 7 lakh in the new tax regime. Thus, persons in the new tax regime with income up to 7 lakh will not have to pay any tax at all.
Plenty of highlights in this budget, ladies and gentlemen, from a surge in capex to, of course, a surge in the investments or allocations for Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, but more importantly, the will to connect all of Bharat. Let's go across straight to Union Minister Piyush Goyal ji, who's joining us. Piyush ji, namaste. This is Anand Narasimhan here. Can you hear me, Piyush ji?
I'm getting in fits and starts. I don't know.
Fits and starts. We'll try and fix that audio. We'll stay with you, sir. I'm just going to check if you can hear me now. Can you hear me, Piyushji? Namaste. Anand here.
Yeah, now I can. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
There was a roadmap for Gati Shakti. Why we last met when you launched the entire logistics blueprint. In this budget, it just looks like you're taking great steps towards achieving that goal. Your assessment, let's start from there. Road, rail, and of course the ports.
I lost you after the goal.
Can you hear me now?
I lost you again, my
Piyushji, can you hear me?
But on Gati Shakti, I can only say if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, please. Yeah, please continue, sir. It's about connecting India, the Bharatmala project.
Shakti, I can say it's a transformational initiative. The way Prime Minister Narendra Modi has conceptualized Gati Shakti, it's completely changed the way we plan our projects, the way we execute our projects, monitor our projects, and finally implement them successfully to serve the people. For example, using Gati Shakti, we have identified over 155 critical bottlenecks, which if plugged, can actually make logistics costs significantly lower. Then we were able to find that almost 42 of them are at different stages of approval or implementation, so we have the funds for that. About 100 projects we identified, which cost about 75,000 crores, which if we can quickly implement, it will have a transformational impact on our logistics costs and ease of doing business for both domestic and export business. Honorable Finance Minister has been gracious enough under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to provide 75,000 crores so that these 100 or so projects can be quickly taken up and will quickly give results to the common man, to businessmen, to the people at large, and help upgrade the infrastructure for logistics in the country. So Gati Shakti is truly giving us remarkable results. Project planning has become smarter, better, implementation is faster, and I'm sure in the years to come, every rupee spent on infrastructure will truly have a big impact on India's competitiveness and India's ability to keep our wheels of the economy moving better and faster.
Will this budget bring out the animal within the private sector? Because it's important to create jobs. It's important to go ahead and grasp this growth story. We need the private sector to bring out the animal instinct in them.
No.
Piyushji, can you hear me now?
Connection, my friend, is...
I'm going to try again. Can you hear me now, Piyushji? Is it better?
It's again in fits and starts. There's something wrong in your connection.
The private, if you can hear me, the private sector, will it come out and bring out its animal instinct? Will it be aggressive now, after this budget?
Well, private sector always looks for indication of demand. And if you recall, way back in 2014, when we had just come in, the banks were in a bad shape, having lent money left, right and center to all sorts of wrong companies and ineligible projects also. At that time, we also had a lot of demand surplus capacities, which was far greater than the demand. And therefore, we saw a little slow implementation of projects. I'm happy to share with you that currently, all private sector corporations, both in goods and in services, report that they are finding their capacity utilization has improved significantly. Post-COVID, the demand has been good, their sales have been robust, their international engagement and exports have grown manifold, and I am quite confident that with this budget, which has given a big boost to infra spending and capex spending, the private sector investments will also get a leg up.
Piyushji, good evening. This is Zaka Jacob here. Just a question on one of your ministries about import and export numbers. We had a record year in 21-22, $420 billion of exports. This year, 22-23, April to November, it's about just a shade under 300 billion. I want to know your outlook, particularly because we are seeing sort of recessionary tendencies in Western markets and so on. What is your outlook for how we will end fiscal year 2022-23 in terms of our export numbers?
Outlook for?
Piyush export numbers. Zaka wants to know the outlook as far as export numbers.
Well, I think last year we did about $674 billion, both goods and services. My own sense is this year will be a robust growth combined between goods and services of about, at least in double digits. And services, of course, are growing faster than merchandise. It's a strength area which we are really catapulting us to one of the top service exporters in the world. And on merchandise also, we are seeing sluggishness in world markets, particularly with high inventory buildup, shortage of foreign exchange in some of the developing countries who are large importers of Indian goods. But overall, we still believe our exports will be in positive territory.
Global recessionary trends, will it hurt us?
It will hurt us on the merchandise side. On the services side, we are very confident that we'll continue to grow very, very rapidly.
PLIs should have been incentivized. The ambit should have been opened. Agree, disagree? Feedback from the corporate sector.
It is open. It is open. I disagree with the expectation or understanding some of the journalists or people had. PLI has already been adequately funded in this budget. It has been approved in the past budgets for 1,97,000 crores in industry and 76,000 crore for semiconductor. We already have the approval and the funding. Wherever a specific sector comes up with a scheme and with the guidelines, we go to the cabinet and the cabinet is authorized to approve it. It was never expected to be a part of this budget. It is already a part of earlier budgets and fully approved.
Final question,
We'll keep
Piyush.
hearing about announcements in the days to come.
Piyush, final question. Opposition jibe is this government over-promises, under-delivers.
Well, I would like to ask them whether we have delivered or not 3.5 crore approximately houses for the needy and deserving. Whether they recognize that what they failed to do for so many years, the Modi government did by providing 11.27 crore toilets so that no sister or mother or daughter ever has to face the indignity of going to a field or in the open for their daily needs. Whether 3.5 crore, 3.25 crore homes which are deprived of electricity received a free electricity connection. How 9.5 crore homes got a free Ujjwala LPG gas connection, because of which they are saved from 400 cigarettes every day.
Ji.
Whether 46 crore Jan Dhan accounts were opened or not. Whether for 28 months the people of India, the 80 crore poor and lower middle class families, 80 crore people got twice their entitlement under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. And now, from 1st January, they do not have to pay anything for their food entitlement under food security. It's totally free. Central government will spend 2 lakh crores on it. Whether 50 crore of our brothers and sisters are eligible for free healthcare or not. I can keep listing out the many achievements. And this is a government that performs. It's an action-oriented government. We under-promise and over-deliver. And I think that is the angst of the opposition. And that is why the people of India continue to bless Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP for the good work that Prime Minister Modi is doing.
Piyush Goyal ji, thank you very much for your time. Look forward to speaking with you at length very, very soon. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly get a check on what are the key highlights of this budget 2023. As Shri Piyush Goyal just said, that contrary to what the opposition claims, we actually under-promise and over-deliver. Why is it that the world is looking at a growth trend only in India when all around us it's recessionary trends? Are there concerns? Yes. Is our rupee holding up against the dollar as strongly as it should? It's not. But there is a focus of growth via capital spending. There is no tax up to a salary of 7 lakh rupees. So that means if you draw 7 lakhs, you don't pay taxes. Above that, you get into the slabs. Focus on fiscal prudence, tax savings for young and retired, 10 lakh crore capex target, and of course, the nudge towards the new tax regime. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said the new tax regime will now be the default tax regime. And does the new tax regime encourage spending more than saving? We will speak about that. But look at the outlays. Out of the 13.5 lakh crore overall gross capex that is there, 2.4 lakh crore outlay is for railways. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana gets an additional outlay hiked by about 66%. And of course, there is the 35,000 crore that's been allocated for green energy transition. Even the customs duty on ethanol has been reduced. Sugarcane producers, sugarcane farmers will get a huge boost, ladies and gentlemen, because of the focus on flex fuel. Hydrogen-based fuel is big. That thrust is big. So not just electric vehicles, you're going to look at alternative fuel vehicles very soon. Hydrogen-based train has been committed right on our show by Ashwini Vaishnaw by December 2023. 15,000 crore allocation for the tribal community. Not a populist budget, they say, but is there everything for those who will believe if they are delivered, they will go back and give a vote of confidence for the Modi Sarkar. Revamp credit guarantee for MSMEs. All of this, but more importantly, it's the tax game again. So plenty of budget buzzwords, which is the biggest buzzword.
As expected, you would imagine that the big word is Vikas or development. 37 times the finance minister mentioned development in her speech. It was an hour and 20-25 minutes or so. Manufacturing also found a huge number of sort of presence in her speech. 21 times she used the word manufacturing. Rural was only 8, jobs 10, education 10. Agriculture, there was a big thrust on agriculture. The credit outlay has been 20 lakh crores. 26 times the finance minister talked about agriculture. If you come to this side, again, a big pivot on green energy. Anand was talking about it, 35,000 crores for the energy transition from fossil fuels to renewables. So 23 times green was mentioned. Digital, again, huge thrust for the government, whether it's in digital payments, whether it is, of course, the digital library, the National Digital Library that they will be establishing. Infrastructure, big one, because the capex has gone through the roof to 10 lakh crores. So 27 times the finance minister talked about infrastructure and exemption. This is in the context of income tax, of course. The finance minister mentioning that word 23 times. So clearly, this is the budget buzzwords or the word cloud of the finance minister's speech. It was an hour and 25 minutes long this time around. She holds the record, by the way, I think it was two budgets back when she spoke for over 2 hours. In fact, couldn't complete her speech. I just want to quickly run through that capex figure as well, because I think it's important to point the direction and the degree of the increase in the capex outlay that's been done. Just 3 years ago, it was under 5 lakh crores, 4.39 lakh crores. And look at the capital expenditure outlay for this particular fiscal. It's 10 lakh crores. It's the highest that India has ever allocated in any union budget. And the transformation has happened over the last 3 years in the middle of the pandemic. 2021 is when we went into the pandemic, 4.39 lakh crores. We're now coming out of the pandemic. It is more than doubled to 10 lakh crores. Yes, the criticism has been they've taken allocations from other, whether it is ministries, other programs. Manrega has seen a significant cut. But this is one thing that economists will continue to debate, that capital expenditure is productive expenditure. It results manifestly in not just your physical infrastructure getting better, but also it will result manifestly in jobs being created. So this is going to be the one big headline, and this is why the markets also reacted very positively to the budget.
And Zaka, you were talking about tax reforms. So the big takeaway, what is the kind of relief that the Aam Aadmi is getting?
There seems to be a lot of confusion between the exemption and also the rebate.
Yeah.
So 7 lakhs and 10 lakhs, where is the difference there? So if I draw 7 lakhs, I don't pay any tax.
You're paying zero tax. So let's say you're earning 8 lakhs. Okay, you're getting 1 lakh more than the free slab, as it were. So 7 lakhs, no taxes, but 7 lakh 1 rupee, you start paying taxes. Let's say you're earning 8 lakh rupees in a year. So then you automatically come into the new slabs. So the first 3 lakhs of your income, there is no income tax that you pay. Between 3 lakhs and 6 lakhs, that's 3 lakh rupees, you will pay at 5%. So that will be 15,000 rupees per annum. The remaining 6 to 8 lakhs, which is 2 lakh rupees, you will pay at 10%, which would be about what? 40,000 rupees. So in effect, you will be paying 55,000 rupees as tax on an 8 lakh income. So on and so forth. So if you're earning, let's say, 10 lakhs, then the first 3 lakhs, there's no tax. The next 3 lakhs, it'll be taxed at 5%. The next 3 lakhs after that at 10%. And the 2 lakhs after that, you will be taxed at 15%. So in terms of, brass tacks, if you were to look at how much you will save, here is a ballpark figure of how much you could potentially save. If you're in the 10 lakh income bracket, your saving would be 23,000 rupees because your current tax in this new regime would be 54,000 rupees per annum. In the 15 lakh tax bracket, your saving would be about 37,000 rupees. Your tax would be 1.5 lakh as opposed to 1.87 lakh. In the 50 lakh bracket, you will be saving as much as 54,000 rupees. 12.33 lakhs is what you will be paying currently compared to 12.87 before. And in the 1 crore bracket, you will be paying only 30.72 lakhs as tax, which is a saving of 60,000 rupees over the previous tax of 31.
And this is all voluntary. If you want to move to the next new tax regime.
This is only eligible for the new tax regime. This is the old tax regime does not get any of these benefits. Of course, the question that needs to be asked, and obviously this is going to vary from individual to individual, is that after the government is clearly said, and the finance minister said in her speech, that the new tax regime is going to be the default regime, what are you thinking in terms of your ATC deductions? You've got 1.5 lakhs, which are deductions in the old tax regime. And then for people who have a housing loan, I think that is a very, very big component. Your interest deduction is 2 lakh rupees. So effectively, between 24B, which is the housing loan interest, and ATC, which is your regular deductions, you're getting a 3.5 lakh rebate or deduction in your income. Would you want to migrate away from that? You'll have to, again, like I said, it depends on your individual tax structure or individual income structure. But from the government side, I think they're very, very clear. They're moving away from a system of deductions to a system of savings as far as these
Zaka, one important point here is, in the new tax regime, the biggest plus is compliance. It's just 2 clicks. It's not, you don't have to look at all your investments, go back and rework all the investments, go and figure out the deductions, and then you have to allocate. So if you have to get a 1.5 lakh deduction or a 2 lakh rupee deduction, you have to pay interest to that amount. That means you have to take the loading of a home.
Yeah, of course.
So a lot of people got into this habit of buying a home because you get the deduction.
Yes,
right now, the current generation, and this is largely the new profession, because next year onwards is default. One more year of extension in the old tax regime. The government is saying now or next year we're going to force you into it. So better migrate.
Okay.
But what they're saying is, once you pay your tax, that money is in your hand. You don't need to figure out, मैं इधर पैसा लगाऊं, इंश्योरेंस में भी डालूं, उधर भी डालूं, पेंशन स्कीम में भी डालूं, ताकि मेरा पैसा बच जाए. उन्होंने टैक्स दे दिया. Now this money is there. You go out and spend as you want to do it.
No, so the corollary argument to that is, okay, and this is natural, this is human instinct, right? You have money, you tend to spend, you don't tend to save. So whereas here, whether it's a housing loan interest or whether it is your ATC deductions, even without you knowing or you perforce you perforce are being forced to save. I think that's the debate.
That's the significant shift, from a saving mentality to a spending mentality. That's where perhaps the shift is expected.
Joining us now is our next big newsmaker, Hardeep Singh Puri, Petroleum and Urban Development Minister, is joining me live. Dr. Puri, really appreciate your time. The budget has allocated 79,000 crore for the PMAY, which is a hike of 66%, which will ensure that the urban poor get a home. जो छत चाहिए थी उनको मिल जाएगी अपने सर के ऊपर. Do you think this would be a game changer, particularly for the 2024 elections for the BJP?
Maria, first of all, I think that the honest answer is that I'm very encouraged with the provisioning of 79,000 crores. But please note that this is provisioning both for the urban and the rural sector. Equally, you must realize that when Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is implemented in the rural sector, it creates, as you said, employment, it will mean more cement, it will mean more steel, etc. But this is part of an overall approach which the budget takes. Why do you start with 79,000 crores for Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana? I would go back to the 10 lakh crores, the increase from 7.5 lakh crores to 10 lakh crores on capital expenditure, which is in fact a 33% increase from 7.5 lakh crores. But what is more serious is that 1,30,000 crore will go to the state governments. The state governments will be able to utilize some of it as conditional and some of it is unconditional for effecting reform, etc. So the budget is growth oriented, it is development oriented, and I think a confident finance minister under the overall guidance of the Prime Minister has delivered a budget which is in fact an essential part of the roadmap to India becoming a Viksit Desh or a developed country by 2047.
Mr. Puri, has the budget lowered risk factors which are arising out of the global concerns that have been there regarding slowdown, the war in Ukraine, and also the inflationary numbers?
Maria, my take on the global situation, the turbulence and the risk factor, if you give me just half a minute, let me explain this to you. The global uncertainty did not come with the Russia-Ukraine military conflict. The global problems arose essentially before that, because after March 2020, we were in a virtual global lockdown position. The economic activity had come to a stop because of the dreaded pandemic, and many countries had introduced a very strong stimulus packages, some countries as large as $20 trillion. Now, if you have an additional $20 trillion chasing the same amount of goods and services, and then there are disruptions in the supply chains, in the labor chain, obviously, in a super inflationary situation, people start discussing the big R. The good news is that the United States, which is the largest economy in the world, has started looking much better, and even the European challenges, I think today appear, to commentators and economists, less severe. The winter in particular, it was not that severe. Another large economy started picking up. So hopefully economic recovery globally and worldwide will not face the imminent threats that it was facing earlier. It's not my case that there are no challenges. Challenges there will be. But we are, as an economy, which is the fastest growing economy, growing at 6.5% to 7%, very well positioned, Maria, to brave those challenges and to negotiate forward, which we did very well, both on the energy front. We diversified our sources of supply. We bought from wherever we could. We are increasing the domestic E&P. We are increasing our green transition. We are going into 20% biofuel blending. We are going into CBG in a big way. And the budget today provides all the ammunition that we require for CBG. For instance, the 5% mandatory blending of CBG. Also, that the problem of FOM will be addressed. So I am delighted to see these provisions in the budget, as I am to see the 79,000 crores. But that 79,000 crores also means that, this is ongoing work. It also means that on the rural area, where we need to address some economic activity issues, this will be helpful in that. So the rural economy will be greatly facilitated by this kind of provisioning of resources.
Since you also hold the petroleum portfolio, I want to understand from you, because you had said that the government should compensate oil marketing companies for the financial hit they have taken by selling petrol and diesel at a less than market rates. We didn't hear about that in the budget speech today.
It's my duty as the line minister to give the to support the requests of the my clients, which are the OMCs in this case. Whilst you didn't see any this thing, I want to remind you, when they said that they were 28,000 crores down because of gas prices, they were compensated 22,000 crores some time ago. Now, this 35,000 crores which is come in today, 5,000 crores is to replenishing the strategic petroleum this thing, and another 30,000 is for capital expenditure and green transition. I mean, now, one part of them may not be compensated, but overall economic activity is going to those OMCs. So at the end of the day, that 35,000 crores will be going there in one form or the other.
Okay, my last question to you, Dr. Puri. The finance minister has highlighted that green growth will be one of the 7 priority areas, which is Saptarishi of this budget 2023. There has been an allocation of 35,000 crore for capital investments towards energy transition and net zero objectives by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. The question is this enough?
I was many years ago, Maria, I was taught never to ask a question in response to a question. But I just make the comment, enough is never enough. But I'm encouraged by the 35,000 crores, and I think it will go a long way. It's a very positive contribution. It will be very widely encouraged, because those who are dealing with fossil fuels today are also in the vanguard of making the transition. So I'm very happy with it. But I will not use the word enough, because, somebody will turn around and say, no, but, I should have got 40,000 instead of 42,000. Look, a budget is a serious exercise where responsible people have to make a judicious determination about competing claims. Now, is 10,000 crores enough for the Urban Development Fund for tier 2 or 3 cities? Well, it could have been more, but I think 10,000 crores is very good, and everybody will be happy with it. Plus, if we are talking about a transition from now to the year net zero, our net zero is till 2070. So this is just the beginning. So I warmly welcome it. I thank the finance minister, and I think it's a very positive step in our green transitioning journey.
All right, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time.
We've got our guest with us, Jaivi Shergill, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Shama Mohammed, Congress National Spokesperson, Nilesh Shah, member of the PMEAC, and we also have Amit Singhania, partner Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas and Company, along with Gurcharan Das ji. Namaste. Thank you very much for your patience. We've got a lot of guests joining us live, so we had to keep you waiting. But Dr. Shama Mohammed, your reaction, your response, everybody giving a thumbs up. Our own on news18.com, nearly 60% plus have said this is a good or an excellent budget. There are about 26% who say it's a poor budget. Where do you stand?
See, the problem in this budget, what I've seen is there's nothing much for health, there's nothing much for education, there's nothing much for farmers, there's nothing much for women, and there's nothing to do with price rise. I'm looking at it as a layperson. I'm looking at myself at this budget. Now, what is there for the price rise which is happening? Has there been any tax cut on petroleum, diesel, cement, for building houses? All those things remain, fertilizers. So what about Manrega, another very important sector? 2.72 lakh crores is required, and it is being reduced from 70,000 crore to 68,000 this time. So Manrega has gone down. I'll give you the figure for Pradhan Mantri Fasal Beam Yojana. Last year was 15,500 crore. This year is 13,625 crore, and it's down by 12%. I'm talking about farmers. PM Kisan, 68,000 crore. Now it's 60,000 crore, reduced by 13%. Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, 10,433 crore. Now it is 7,130 crore. Krishnamati Yojana, 7,183 crore. Now it is 7,006 crore. So PSS MIS, 1,500 crore, 0.1 crore. So a lot of damage for the Kisans. What is what? And the other thing is this tax, which you are talking about. Nobody needs to pay tax up to 7 lakh is something which is, you have to go into the new regime. Now, I just want to ask one question is, this tax new thing came out in 2020. The question today we are asking is, the party is also asking, is how many have shifted from then to this new tax regime? Because the old, even if it is 5 lakhs, you had tax deductions. You had it on housing, you had it on your insurance. So you had those, and those are called as safety nets. Now, if you go into the new, And now they've made it default. So if you just go into the new, you can never come back to the old. And just in case in future one again changes it, those things are your social security.
Correct.
So I don't think one has to make it this default thing, and it's just people's
So
choice.
you're saying
And
that
give us the
it's a
data.
safety net, but somewhere the government had said that you have to move towards spending more rather than intrinsically wanting to save.
No, but India doesn't have anything called...
Your argument is bought.
Can I just finish?
Yeah, yes.
Can I just finish? India doesn't have anything called a social security thing. America has it for their people. This is basically a social security. We don't know what happens.
Okay.
So that's the other thing. And what about employment? I don't see anything on that. Now you're going to give 50 airports.
So
right?
already
all the airports are with Adani.
One minute. Let's not get into personal jibes about who's
getting
been
into
given and all
personal
that.
jibes,
It's going to derail the whole thing as far as the budget is concerned. Let Jaivir Shergill answer each and
also
every
GST,
allegation.
why not reduce
Shamaji, please
GST?
yield. Shamaji,
Just
please
put
yield.
a-
I've given you.
let him answer
I have
this
not
also.
interrupted
Why
you.
not reduce GST?
I have not interrupted you, but that should not become a monologue. It's a
But
debate.
you're not
There are
allowed to
other guests. There
finish
are
my
other
point,
guests
no?
also. Shamaji, there are other guests also.
You need
Please
to
yield.
allow the Congress to finish
Please
their
yield.
point.
Jaivir Shergill, please rebut. The Congress believes this is a bogus budget. It does nothing for anybody. And you pulled out money from the Kisan. Well, God knows where you have put it. You're showing big allocations, but what is it going to yield? What does it do for me as an individual? That's the crux of the question that Shama Mohammed is asking.
I think on a lighter note, I must say one thing. Today, India is smiling. There is a happy vibe across the nation. And I am the only unhappy class today are the Congress spokespersons who have a wrinkle on their forehead or sadness because Congress cannot stomach or digest the fact that the big budget has gone all-round applause from every section of the society. Point number one. The fact of the matter is opposition is crying because the budget has come out with flying colors, flying marks and put the trajectory of the Indian economy on a flying path. Point number one. As I'm a Punjabi, I must say this is a balle budget with 3 P characteristics: path breaking, progressive and pro people. Now let's come to pure facts and figures. This budget has added a turbo engine when it comes to the India growth story 2023 onwards, generating employment, boosting manufacturing, uplifting the farmers and also putting India on the path of innovation and green future. Now there was a point made about what does it do for employment. The capex raise, the first time in the history of independent India, double digit, 10 lakh crore has the potential to create employment. Point number one. Point number two, the 66% rise in Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, where 3.5 crore houses have already been built, will create employment. The Agricultural Startup Fund, which encourages young boys and girls, men and women to participate in agriculture, will generate employment.
Right.
The establishment of the cooperative societies at the panchayat level will create employment. 47 lakh youth will be given apprenticeship fund, which will help them generate operation. The training in one aspect, which I've been seeing your show, which must focus on, the artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
The budget 2023 with special focus on artificial intelligence will not only train our youth for the future, but will also generate employment. You have a Make in India artificial intelligence, you have a training and coding mechanism, which will further accelerate appointment. Now, what does it do for the common man?
Correct.
The Congress is today fumbled and troubled because the budget has achieved the twin test. One, putting money directly in the hands of the middle class by revising the tax slab. Second, by putting money which has a trickle down and a ripple effect through capex. I am going to share a RBI report with you, which is in front of me. 1 rupee in the hand of a taxpayer generates 95 paisa.
Right.
1 rupee through capital investment generates 3 rupees 45 paisa. So we have given up on a 2 rupees.
So you are saying roundabout you are going to put more money eventually.
Profit.
But a lot of sentiment which is saying is traditionally those who are in the habit of saving, now they are being discouraged to save and they may encouraged to spend. So what about all their savings and where is the social security net? Let me just bring in our other panelists and then I'll come back to you, Shamaji, for a counter. Nilesh Shah, member PMESG is with us. Amit Singhania is with us. Your thoughts, Nilesh Shah, on this budget? Does it encourage you, discourage you? Will it encourage corporates to bring out the animal in them? Will my pockets feel
This is
heavier
a budget
personally?
This is a budget which tries to balance between various conflicting objectives. It has increased allocation to infrastructure investment up to 10 lakh crore, which is more than what market was expecting. Second, it has cut taxes to the extent of 35,000 crore, which will support consumption at the taxpayer level. And third, it has also pursued the path of fiscal prudence, with deficit coming at 5.9 for this year, next year, and 4.5 target for FY26. Within the constraints, this is the reasonable budget. It will support consumption. It will create multiplier effect on growth if the infrastructure spend is executed on ground. And it will also encourage private sector investment, though it will require cooperation not only from central government, but also state and local government, so that ease of doing business is actually improved on the ground. Net, I think it's a reasonable budget within a challenging global environment.
Amit Singhania?
Yeah, hi. So let me just concentrate my comments from the tax legislation perspective, because I am a tax professional. Look, Income Tax Act has been amended through various finance bills over the decades, and so if you see, the mainstay of these budgetary proposal has been to rationalize the existing provision to address the unintended anomaly. If you see the fine prints of the budget, the mainstay, the main ethos of the budget is to rationalize the tax provisions, try to curb the litigation, and there is one beautiful provision which has been added. For example, I would say a lot of significant litigation has been blocked at the first appellate stage, which is the Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals. They have been overburdened with the appeals. So a parallel system has been created through this budget to the Joint Commissioner, so the appeal can be transferred to the Joint Commissioner level, so that the Commissioner of Appeals can be spared away to concentrate upon the few important appeals. So this is a significant provision. Rather, in my cases also, there has been no hearing for the last 2 years, because they have been overburdened, because so many appeals have been generated on a monthly basis. So the mainstay of the budget is just to rationalize the tax provision. There is no requirement to do something new.
Mr. Singhania, will you say
survey has already come out with
that there is much to answer in terms of clarity? There is no clarity. There is a question that is doing the rounds on social media, and an individual is asking, if I earn 6 lakh rupees and the minister has said that till rupees 7 there is zero tax, then what is the 3 to 6 lakh tax slab that is attracting a 5% tax?
Nothing will be taxed. So although the slab does not provide to the 7 lakh, there is another provision, 87A, which will provide a rebate, and if you are earning income up to 7 lakh rupees, there will be no tax.
Correct.
But if you are earning income 7 lakh 1 rupees, then you will fall under the slab.
But Zaka,
this rebate
the point that you were trying to make for ATC and...
What I want to know is, the finance minister saying that the new tax regime is going to be the default regime. Amit, whatever income bracket I am in, whether I'm under 7 lakhs or I'm 10 lakhs or I'm 50 lakhs, going forward, should people, start saving up for these deductions under ATC, housing loan, etc.? Or should we not look at that aspect at all, try and save more tax, and then it's up to the individual to decide what you want to do with that saved tax?
So I think it is the latter. The discretion has been given to the individual taxpayer, what they want to with their money, and the whole genesis is coming from the premise that the tax policy has been shifting away from the exemption. If you see on the corporate side also, over the last decade, the endeavor has been to shift away from the exemption. And that has been the promise of the government. This is the OECD recommendation.
I'm asking you a simple question. If I'm a young man or a young woman entering the workforce, let's say even if I'm getting above 7 lakhs, should I think in long term for ATC deductions and for a housing loan interest waiver?
I always say the tax cannot be the driver to attract an investment into a particular sector. Just like the housing sector, it can at most be the enabler. in case the young individuals want to invest into the housing sector, wants to invest into the house property, they will irrespective go towards it.
All right.
Great.
Why will you should bind towards it?
So Nilesh ji, somewhere, are you telling the Naya Bharat or the generation over the next 25 years, is the government telling them, don't have a save first mentality, you go ahead and spend. But the question that's coming across from the opposition and many other people is, what's my security net? By default, when we were saving because of these deductions, there is a security net that we build over a period of our corporate life or our professional life. If you're taking that away, how are you going to secure them? What's their safety net?
So one, the security is not coming through just compulsory investment. The PF and the NPS and other things are there for some time. Has it provided security to everyone? Answer is no. The security comes from financial education. We have to make people aware about concept of savings and investment. For example, Indians are great saver. Our savings rate is more than 30%. But where do we go and invest? We go and invest in real estate. We go and invest in gold. A country like India has spent more than $500 billion in import of gold in just last 21 years. And this gold is lying in Tijori.
Correct.
This is more than foreign direct investment received. This is more than foreign portfolio investment received. We need to educate people so that instead of savings for tax benefits, they start saving for securing their future.
Okay. So very well put. So you change the mindset, tax bachane ke liye save mat karo, apna future secure karne ke liye save karo. So then you have a certain level of financial education and financial jurisprudence that you personally will also practice. Gurcharan Das ji, this has become quite a bit of a conversation point across the board. Everybody is looking at this कि अब मैं बचाऊंगा क्या? मेरा deduction छीन लिया आपने. What's the point? Why are you forcing me onto the new tax regime? What's the benefit of doing something like this?
No, I completely agree with the philosophy that you don't use taxation as the basis of making your investment decisions. You should be free to make your own investment decisions, and the best budgets are the ones which don't have exemptions. They are clean, they are transparent. You don't need CAs to help you. And whatever in terms of those deductions and savings that are as it was removed, it should be translated into a flat rate, a lower flat rate as far as possible. That should be, in other words, a budget should be friendly to the ordinary citizen.
Right.
The more exemptions you put in a budget, the more complicated you make your life. And this is one of the positive things, I believe. This is the way, for example, the whole faceless assessment has changed the face of the treatment of a taxpayer.
Right.
Similarly, you're giving respect to the taxpayer and not inducing a taxpayer to do what you think is right. Let the taxpayer, you can save. Some Indians, as you just pointed out, Indians are savers. They can invest, let them invest in mutual funds. The important thing, which I was hoping for, is that all capital gains are equal.
Right.
In other words, don't treat real estate capital gains different from mutual fund capital gains.
Gurcharan Das ji, allow me to please interrupt you. I have Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji joining us live. Skill, technology, a lot of hats that he wears. Namaste, Jai Hind, Rajiv ji. You're going to get busier now. The thrust of this budget is towards, comes right under your domain.
No, not really, Anand. I think this budget is very significant in many ways, but it is significant in that it really is signaling to all of us as citizens that we are at an inflection point as a nation, and we are really, by a simple thing like 45 lakh crore budget with a 13.3 lakh crore focus on global standard infrastructure, we are signaling that we are building the country for the future generations. And then added to that, we have digitalization, which is accelerated, that the budget signals. It talks about skilling, modern skills for our youth. It talks about 160 new nursing colleges, because Indian nurses are in demand, not just in India, but all over the world. It talks about 30 Skill India international centers that will create opportunities, that will prepare Indian youth for opportunities globally. So in many ways, this is the first of a series of, I assume, of future-ready budgets that are signaling that we are entering really a home stretch of going from fifth to the third largest economy first, and then and onwards and forwards. The $5 trillion economy, as the economic survey and the chief economic advisor said, is within reach. Being the third largest global economy is within reach. And so all of these things that are being spoken about in these budgets, all these initiatives are really to propel the country, propel our economy into a different level and a different stratosphere. And I think perhaps it is because we are now at a different level of performance, and we're building a different narrative of a different type of future with almost reimagined ambition, that a lot of people, a lot of my friends in the opposition are struggling to characterize this. And because they fail to find anything meaningful, they go back to the tried and dusted. It is anti-poor. It is not dealing with. I heard the former finance minister who ran the economy to the ground today say that the finance minister did not mention the word poverty, as if mentioning the word poverty is some sort of a qualification or a badge of honor that you wear. So, we are at a very, very different place. This budget is signaling to the world and to all of us as Indians that we are, as a nation, at a very different place and ready to really take off into a different orbit.
The budget is pushing a lot of people to unlearn and also relearn. Now, let's break that down. Especially in terms of learning, the thrust is towards three important aspects: agriculture, labor, and also a digital public infrastructure. And you mentioned the AI centers. All of that hinges on a huge amount of data. So in these three aspects, we have three reforms which are still stuck: data protection, data privacy, labor reforms, and agriculture reforms. So without these three in place, can we really achieve what's envisioned in the budget?
So, I think there are essential ingredients of this journey to build New India for the Amrit Kal. You are aware very clearly that we have an absolutely world-class digital personal data protection bill in the works that has gone through consultation, that is now almost getting ready to be sent to cabinet and then onwards to parliament. We have an ecosystem. The budget today mentions the National Data Governance Framework and Policy that went through a process of consultation in the early and mid 2022 and is becoming policy today, that creates a framework for organizing, managing government data, and also creating the essential platform for AI research and AI innovation, which is the India Datasets platform. And the budget further alluded to the three centers of excellence for artificial intelligence. And as the Honorable Finance Minister said, it is about AI for India. And we want to put AI to work for improving governance, which has significantly improved in the last 8-9 years with digital technology, but take it even further. So all of these are connected. I don't think anything is stuck. I can assure you that in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government, nobody can afford to have anything stuck.
So you are saying that the data protection DPDP bill is not just in the works, it's ready to be sent to cabinet and...
Yes, the consultation is over, Anand. As you are aware, the consultation process, which lasted a month and a half, almost 2 months, extensive consultation with all the stakeholders, that process is complete. Now we are tabulating all of the inputs and redrafting whatever corrections and changes that need to be made to the bill. And then the administrative process takes over. It goes from my ministry to the cabinet, and then from cabinet to parliament, and from parliament for after debate and discussion to the to be implemented. So that process is underway. I was responding to your characterization that things are stuck. I can assure you that nothing is stuck.
Nothing is. My final question, Rajiv Chandrasekharji, there are many who are questioning whether the government really intends to help the middle class, because the thrust towards moving to the new tax regime seems to be more of a burden for those who have saved all these years. You're suddenly disincentivizing savings and trying to push spending. While my interest rates have gone up, my savings rates have come down. All of that.
No, I don't think so. I think the difference between the old tax regime and the new tax regime is very simple. The new tax regime basically is a flat rate. It's for those who like to keep their tax planning very simple. And of course, that is the default tax model that we are encouraging people to adopt. For those who have exemptions and they have the other older tax regime that they want to follow, the choice is always available to them. So it's not a question of
but only for a
government pointing in any one direction and saying go here or go there. If a particular citizen or a family seeks to have a large number of exemptions in their tax planning, the older tax regime works for them and they are free to do so.
But that's only for a year.
The newer tax regime is a flat rate model, which today, as you see, in the finance minister has announced that the exemption slabs have been increased, and therefore those who follow that get that benefit. So, but to the larger question of what the middle class or indeed any Indian is benefiting, I can assure you that these 13.3 lakh crores in infrastructure, the last year 7.5 lakh crores in infrastructure, year before that 5 lakh crores in infrastructure, these are all going to build better roads, better airports, better railway stations, better railway experience, better public transport, more metros. These are all things that impact a middle class, salaried, working class Indian every day of his or her life. As they travel to work, as they travel back and forth. These are all issues that collectively make up what the middle class is getting from the government of India. I think to characterize a tax break as the only thing that a middle class or indeed any citizen gets is to see this very, very narrowly. The entire mission of this government, as the Prime Minister has repeatedly talked about, is ease of living. It is to create better standards of living for an individual hardworking Indian and his or her family. Well, and that is precisely what all of this spending is meant to do and is doing.
Well, the challenge is now implementation and to deliver what has been promised. Rajiv Chandrasekharji, always a pleasure speaking with you. Look forward to speaking with you soon again. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you.
We take a very short break. The coverage continues. Stay with us.